Hi, everyone. Is this like an almost full house? I see just like 3, 4 chairs remaining. So those of you who want to know how to live well should join quickly from the sides. So as the introducer mentioned, I'm Sanjana. I'm going to be anchoring this session. I'm also a writer. And this session is on the 6-7 Guide to Life with two wellness experts, I would say. Sujata is the author of 99 Not Out and Resilience Decoded. And Shoba Narayan, who's a self-described Vata type, according to Ayurveda, which is a restless type, so I'm sure we'll all benefit from your experience, is the author of 108 Ways to Live Your Best Life. So I think both of you combine a lot of research and scientific thinking with real life stories and your own personal experiences. And I'm really excited to learn how to cope with stress and be resilient in this very chaotic world that we live in. So I want to start with something that you mentioned in the first page of your book, Sujata, which is that, one of the, why should we live well? So you want people to have a continued interest late into life and be active in people, events, and the world around them. And as a 30-something who's neither a teenager, which also your works cover, and also not a very old person, which also your works cover, why should to all the privileged, switched off people out there, why should we care to be mentally on until 108 or late into our lives and be active in the world? Like, what's your answer to nihilists?
Thank you so much. Thank you for that question, Sanjana. It's wonderful to be at BLF. Thank you so much for having us. It's wonderful to be sitting next to Shoba and to be engaged in this conversation. So resilience then isn't about just enduring hardship, right? It's about being engaged with life. And while mentally switching off might seem like a relief, and it does provide short-term stress relief, so there's nothing wrong with switching off short-term, it can lead to disconnection, it can lead to loneliness, and it can actually lead to emotional and cognitive decline. So it's not an ideal state for us to engage in long-term. So to the nihilist, my response would be, the brain operates on a very simple maxim: if you don't use it, you lose it. And therefore, engaging with life, whether it's with the people, with ideas, with the world around us, becomes crucial for a life well lived. And therefore, then, engagement isn't really a burden, it is our source of vitality.
That's interesting, but I feel like we also live in a very chaotic world where it seems like any attempt to engage, there's very little, you don't know that you will be successful at whatever you're trying to do. So how do you keep that spark alive as you're going about life? What you're saying is right, we all need something to feel alive, and you don't want to just survive, you want to thrive, hashtag, that's the mantra.
Yeah.
So how do you then cope with setbacks, and what's your advice?
I think what we're talking about here is using curiosity as the antidote to despair. So when we look at the world with curiosity, now in the case of our world today, there's perhaps too much engagement in the digital world. So when I talk about engagement, I'm not talking about the digital space at all. It has its role to play, but it's about engaging with the world at large. So with the natural world, with your friends, with your family, with the kind of engagements that make us truly human. When we take that into account, right? When we are curious about the world at large without doom scrolling.
Is that
because
possible?
but that's essential. That is essential for our mental health. We know for a fact that doom scrolling perpetuates anxiety and depression, right? Doom scrolling is what leads to that despair in the first place. And there's a reason why brain rot was the word of the year last year in 2024. And brain rot happens because of doom scrolling, because of going through endless and really low-quality social media consumption that all of us are guilty of, right? It's not just about being 30-something. As a 50-something, I can say the same thing. So it's a question of recognizing that and changing our digital habits, thinking about our digital hygiene, just as we brush our teeth every morning and every night. We have to think about how we're using that digital world around us so that it's not a source of despair, but a source of vitality.
So now that we've established it's important to be engaged in life and you need it to survive and thrive, I'd love to hear from Shoba. What was your motivation for writing the book? And then after that, Sujata, like, what prompted you to pick this
So
up?
we are at the Bangalore Literature Festival. I didn't want to write this book, even though I was born to write this book. I wanted to write a literary book, not just a book describing hacks that I have used in order to better myself. But like you said, I am a Vata type. So I live my life by taking shortcuts to health. I would like to get fit without exercising and lose weight without dieting. But this book is an attempt to solve that question. So it is very true to who I am and how I live. It is not true to the idea that I have about myself as the literateur who writes deathless prose. So I'm both thrilled and a little sheepish about writing this book.
No, but from my experience of reading it, I think you managed to weave in a personal lens and like starting off by saying and admitting that you're a Vata type is kind of literary, I think, because you're like, here are my flaws, and I'm going to write the book that solves my own problems. So I don't think there's anything more literary than that.
Yeah.
So
So in a way, it's for people people. So I find there are two types of people in the world. There are people who are extremely disciplined, runners among them, who can just do the same thing, who can get fit in a way that is consistent. Sujata, my friend, is one of them. So, and then there are people like me, lesser mortals, who have to keep trying different things, who lose interest, who flail, who cannot complete something. So this book is for lesser mortals.
yes, thank you for
She
saying that.
couldn't
'Cause I really-
remember how many books she had written, so I don't think this is somebody who doesn't have discipline.
But I would love to hear, because I think that this binary does exist. I think people think there are some people who have willpower, and for them, everything comes easily. They just wake up at 6 a.m., they're able to work out and, meditate and do the full-time job and take care of their families. And then there are people who are struggling. So wellness experts, please tell us, is this true, or is everyone struggling and some people are just pretending to have it together?
No,
Please say yes.
No, I think, we know now the science of habit formation tells us it takes about 6 weeks to form a habit. So if you do something every day and do it consistently, we can all do it. It's a muscle we can all
You're
build.
making it sound easy. Is it that easy?
It's boring. It's not glamorous. It's not dramatic. And it requires us to sort of buckle down and just do it every day. But we went to school every morning, right? And
So
we
just
did
to
most of us
double
did
down
most
on this
of our
question
homework.
a bit, because I'm getting the sense that you think that maybe there are like the people who then tend to find it easy to do the boring and the unglamorous. Like, are there some traits that separate them from?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's just recognizing that the boring and the unglamorous
Is
relentless
life.
effort in that way is going to yield the benefits. The good news, though, with wellness habits, and that's been my experience, and it's experience of anyone who engages in them, even if they're small micro habits, is that once you start to do them consistently, you start to find the benefits, you start to do them automatically. You find that because they're beneficial and you feel that benefit, you choose that way of life. But it only comes from practice.
I find myself oscillating between this type of person and also this. I think I have phases in life where I'm like, I can do everything I have put my mind to. I wake up
Right.
early. But then
Yes.
sometimes I can't keep it up. And
Yes.
I think the hard part for me has been learning to be compassionate with the
Yes.
the down phases instead of
Yes.
expecting to be all on the time, especially
Yes.
in the world that we live in. It's
Right.
24/7. You feel like taking a moment off is wrong, and
I
like
think,
someone's going to get ahead, or you're not doing
yeah.
enough. So,
Yeah.
but it is true that people have phases, right? Or
No,
is
I
it-
think the piece about compassion is very important, and we let Shobha just take off from there. I think what you just said, that compassion for oneself, that's incredibly important in today's world, and understanding what that kindness means. So switching off, choosing a digital sunset and sticking to it every evening, right? Keeping yourself away from those devices on a regular basis in a very thoughtful and in a manner that you know why it is that you're doing it is going to make a huge difference.
boundaries are important.
Very important. Yeah.
Shoba, what do you
And
think?
my book is about the micro habits that she was talking about, which is that if you're sitting in a seminar hall like this, you know, we all shake our legs. And I looked into why that helps us. I looked into if you're sitting in a place that you cannot move, what are certain movements that you can do that will improve your fitness. So there's lots of chapters about things you can do while sitting still, either at a concert or at a literature festival. So these are the micro habits I talk about, and I give a lot of them because I get bored about doing the same thing. So, you know, the Kathak dancers do this Kalai movement. Sit in your chair and do the Kalai movement. It's very good for your wrists. And, you know, we're all on the computer all the time. Maybe shake your hands, shake your
We
legs.
should all take a moment to do
Do the Kalai.
Kalai movement. What is, so for the busy and the lazy alike, what is like the highest ROI micro habit that I can pick up? Like something I can start doing immediately while we speak that will benefit me?
So you can't do it here, but I would say use your pinky finger of your non-dominant hand while you work on your smartphone. And every phrase of that is important because all of us use our smartphones a lot. All of us click using our pointer finger. And all of us use whatever the dominant hand is, which is the right or the left. So what I've said in this book is use your pinky finger with your non-dominant hand. For me, it happens to be my left hand. More and more, I'm trying to use my left hand. And, you know, try it when you type messages. First of all, you'll be slower. Second of all, you'll be present. Third of all, your thumb and your pointer will thank you for it. So that is my suggestion for how the greatest ROI. Try your pinky finger when you try your smartphone.
Like you're saying I should use my...
Yeah, I'm saying like this.
So hold it in my dominant hand.
Hold it in your dominant hand and use your pinky finger from your non-dominant hand when you type messages on your smartphone, because we all do that a lot. Try it and see.
I'm excited to find out what's going to happen. I think I'll make a lot of typos and potentially threaten my job. But, but what would you say are the benefits of something like that? Is it to slow down, be more present?
So one of the threads in this book is about small nudges to get yourself out of your comfort zone. That's entirely,
really
if I had
like
to
that.
describe in one sentence what my book is about, it is about small nudges in a safe space to get out of your comfort zone. So the way I do that is all of us have these habits that we form that are now a part of who we are. So using your non-dominant hand is a huge thing. When you open the door, which hand do you use? Instead, try using your non-dominant hand. Close your eyes when you walk down the stairs and hold the railings. Even a minute of closing your eyes, because we are very eye-focused society now, we've forgotten to use all the other senses. So hold the railings when you walk down the stairs and close your eyes. The other thing I say is also do the Bharatanatyam sideways look of like this, because I say, I looked it up and it connects the right and the left hemispheres of your brain. So these are small things that I do. I walk down 5 flights of stairs and I do. And now I'm good enough that I can close my eyes and walk down 5 flights of stairs.
Oh my
so
God.
these are things.
Some of this sounds very like life-threatening when you first hear of it, but I'm sure that one would get the hang of it with practice.
But her ROI, we have to ask.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So I think
I had a follow-up question maybe before, like, just
Yes.
because I also, like, in India, I think there's this sense of auspiciousness associated with using your right hand for things, like always exchange money with your right hand, and you know, I mean, left-handed people have been looked down upon in society from years ago. So I wonder if you have anything to say about that.
So my mother belongs to a goddess cult called Sri Vidya, and in that there is a whole cult of left-handed gaze. If you look at Tibetan Buddhism, it is the left-handed way. So yes, you're right. In India, the right hand is viewed as auspicious, but in spirituality too, there is a whole path of left-handedness that we can adopt. So the beauty of Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, in my opinion, is you can find loopholes and shortcuts for everything, which is literally what my book is about. Loopholes and shortcuts.
I think the two books would make an excellent companion guide to each other.
They do, and I did
Yes,
read them together.
please buy them together.
What is your favorite, highest ROI daily tip for us?
Okay,
or
so I have
something you do
my
yourself?
favorite and then the one that I was going to share with you today, and I'm going to do both. So my favorite is sleep.
That's
Yeah.
radical. Are you sure?
Yes, I'm 100% sure. So I guard my sleep like a sacred covenant, and I recommend that everybody do the same, particularly in the context of our teens. Our teens are generally sleep deprived, and they need more sleep than we can imagine because they're growing physically, emotionally, intellectually. Their brains are sort of developing at an extraordinary rate, as are their bodies, as we all well know as parents of teens, and we've been teens before. But the one that I wanted to talk about was the listen first and fix later approach. I talk about this in my book, which is a sort of a toolkit that's rooted in research, but delivered with empathy, I hope. And the listen first and fix later approach is not just for us with our children or us with our spouses or our significant others, it's also with ourselves, right? Really listening to what's going on and thinking about it and experiencing it and then responding to it. Giving it that lag time can make all the difference.
Sounds like a step of mindfulness. Instead, like don't react, respond. Like
Yeah.
get present first.
Yeah.
How
So
do you
she
guard?
tells you to sleep, and I'm giving you life-threatening suggestions.
Like walk down the stairs with your eyes closed, and she's like, go to sleep. We'll come to the contradictions maybe between your approaches later on in the. But how do you guard your sleep? How do you?
Oh, so I think again this goes back to habit, right? So I have a time that I go to sleep every day, and I get up every morning. Again, very boring, nothing exciting about it, but it works. If you have a sleep pattern that you follow on most nights, even on the week nights that you don't, your body just sort of falls back into it.
You know, I would really want to hear from you a time when you did not meet your own ideal, and how you dealt with that. Because you said we should be compassionate, but I think you should show us how to be compassionate.
It's something I'm working on.
So what do you do when you don't meet your ideals? Like
It's a really good question. I think I'm learning to be kinder to myself as I get
so
older.
when you like fuck up. So
Yes. So, or when you need to take a break, right? So we talked about switching off, and I talked about how it can have relevance and it cannot. So I'll give you an example. Both my parents were sick last week. My mother was in the hospital, thankfully for nothing serious, but she was in the hospital till Thursday. And I was exhausted. I'm an only child, and I had the support, but I'm an only child. So yesterday, I took the day off, and what did I do? I spent 3 hours watching Netflix, and I ordered myself some cupcakes from Magnolia, and I had 2 cups of coffee, which is unusual for me, and I took a nice long afternoon nap.
so fun.
Yes.
So you have to be nice to yourself and
You
do the
do.
thing that you really want to do and feels
Yeah,
easy
some
for
days you just
sometimes,
need
yeah.
to do that. So you
Yeah.
need to take the day off, and you have to do that completely guilt-free, and I achieved it, which for me was an achievement, right? The guilt-free part. of it.
Thank you for the honesty. I think I wish I had guarded my sleep better last night and this past week, but like hopefully it's not showing. But like yeah, it's
No, you're doing
inspiring.
very well. Keep going. Very well.
So I wanted to, because you also mentioned teens and 99 Not Out is for the seniors, but Resilience Decoded is a teen-centered approach to coping with stress. And
Yes.
I think it's fair to say that kids today are going through way more than when we were kids. Like
Yeah.
I think I've always been in proportion to age. It's also the complexity of your experience.
Absolutely.
So tell us about how to cope with teens, and how do you, as a older person, give advice to them without being overbearing or running into these traps? Like you don't want to take someone who's giving too much advice. You
Right.
don't actually want to listen to someone who's telling you what to do, right? That's the
Right.
teenage mindset, at
Right.
least. I mean, maybe I still have it.
Would you like to go first?
I would say comb your hair when your kids are talking to you, and that way you're preoccupied with doing something, so you don't give them answers. Nobody wants solutions.
That seems really-
Later on, keep a journal into which you dictate all the things that you're sad and mad about, and this can apply to. And you dictating is very important. I think writing, we all write journals, but dictating, I've come more and more to believe in the power of of speech, singing, humming, speaking, all of that. So I know this is all the things I'm pissed off about. This is all the things I'm sad about, and try to hold your tongue when your kids speak, and I'm very bad at it. I'm working on it, but I comb my hair.
That sounds really practical and doable, so that it's not about them, you're just passing something on as you're going about your day rather than this, you need to do this and listen to me, right?
Yes.
I might want
Yeah.
to try that with my colleagues because sometimes I feel like they just don't listen to you. So.
Yeah, no. I think, Shoba and I have talked about parenting endlessly, and I've had the advantage of having younger children compared to hers. So I've always listened to her very sort of, listened to her share
Mostly
her thoughts.
complain.
But yeah, so I think, this book got written because I saw our teenage sons, one who turned a teen during the pandemic. And we saw our boys go through 2 years of online school, as did millions of parents in India. And it had profound consequences then, and we continue to deal with them today. So Resilience Decoded then is a toolkit that is rooted in research, right? And it delves into the neuroscience of adolescence, because neuroscience tells us that the adolescent brain has this extraordinary capacity for intellectual achievement. At the same time, though, it is uniquely vulnerable. And being able to understand those two dichotomies is very important so that our teens don't get misunderstood, particularly in the world that they live in. Because as parents who grew up in a very dramatically different world, we often forget that their world is so different from ours. Yeah? And the second point is, I think, which is so important and can make all the difference, is to move from correction to connection, to move from control to connection. Right? If we are seeking to understand them when we're raising them, when we're seeking to act as consultants rather than their CEOs of their lives, I think we can bridge that gap.
There's so much to say here because I feel like this approach to parenting touches at the heart of how Indian families used to operate and maybe are evolving towards. I have a brothers who are 10 years younger than me, so in a sense I was kind of semi-parenting them. And I think parenting is really hard because you have to pay your bills, you have stressful jobs, and you have to deal sensitively with people who are not equipped to operate at the same level.
It's also the only job you're not trained for. You
And
don't pass
it's
an
the first time
exam
anyone's
for.
doing any of these things.
Yeah.
So, and I think the generation above mine, like my parents, and I know I can speak for people. My session is at 6:15 today, so I'll dive into it there. But our parents were, they didn't realize that they would be controlling or overbearing because that's all they knew. And now I think people have wisened up to the fact that you can get better results if you are emotionally open to your kids and you, like you said, consult with them rather than operate as a CEO. So, and you also mentioned there have been lasting consequences from the pandemic for your kids. So if you can just join all these dots together and tell me, what did the pandemic do and how have you evolved in your parenting approach? What are these consequences you mentioned?
I think this goes back to a conversation I've had with Shoba as well about parenting. And I took the easy way out when I think about it. And by easy way out, I say I looked at the things that my children were generally good at and enjoyed, and I focused on encouraging them with that. And for the older one, it was sport, and for the younger one, it was creative expression. And both protected them during the pandemic. So the older one was out playing cricket when he could, and the younger one was either drawing or sketching or writing poetry or sculpting or whatever, but he was using his hands. And I think the engagement goes back to being engaged with something that you enjoy, with something that you're working on, with something that you have passion for, protected them from getting into the digital world too much, from engaging with social media too much, from spending too much time on devices, and allowed them to stay healthy through those times, because nobody really studied. Can you imagine being on Zoom from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and
really
just
difficult.
trying to learn? Nobody studied during that time.
I watched my brother watching YouTube videos in prep for JEE, like on 3x speed to consume as much as possible, as fast as possible. And I think in 2020, they also allowed kids to give JEE 4 times so that it was the best of 4 scores. So he gave that 6-hour exam 4 times.
Oh my
and he had
gosh.
actually done best in the first attempt, so that was the score that was used. But it is a really harsh and turbulent environment to grow up in. I don't know how many people have watched Adolescence on Netflix, but I think gender is also a very like divisive aspect of life to navigate now, where like you know the things that you pick up online can sort of bias you for life and how you approach the. So is that something you also tackle in your work? Like how do teenagers, how should they approach gender in this and resilience and?
I think this is an ongoing conversation you have to have with your children. I think that keeping those lines of communication open, being thoughtful, being compassionate and non-judgmental, because their world is so different from yours, is an important way to see where they're at. But the interesting thing about the generation of children I'm raising, my sons are 19 and 16, is that there is a backlash against wokeism. So we're seeing that they are far more, centered.
Gen Z is paradoxically more conservative. I think it's millennials and some they brought on this, pushback towards
Right.
older generations, and now
Right.
I think that started to feel oppressive because they were like high standards that the woke side has, and then people are like, no, actually traditional roles make sense, and it explains the rise of conservatism. So I'm also curious, how do you deal with this at all, like these generation gaps at home, differences in values, or do these questions come up, and how do you deal with them?
I think Sujata has answered that question quite well. I mean, generational gap, these are large questions. I live with my mother and mother-in-law in the same building and kids. I think, I don't think it's pretty or easy. I think movies and serials maybe make it look easy. I think, taking naps, writing about it, figuring out how to get release from the stresses of everyday life, either by talking to friends or um, having a meditative practice. So I don't think I'm qualified to give this is not a shortcut answer. This is something I think we all have to find for ourselves, and it is unique to each who we
But
are.
I am happy to see that parents are evolving. Like, I mean, I think the amount of awareness that there is that people are evolving. They're also getting confused. So it's like, as you said, an answer that everyone has to find for themselves on how to navigate. I think let's move on from teens to another way. I think both of you looked at your book. You had like a physical component to wellness, a mental component to wellness, and also a spiritual component to wellness. And I'd like to talk about that. So just like maybe if you could start, what do you, in your mind, spiritual best practices?
So I have started moving more and more to physical practices. I find that spirituality is very personal. Whether it comes or it doesn't is up to you. But I find that whether it's yoga or whether it is pranayama, a lot of our healing methodologies world over, Tai Chi, are rooted in the physical. So I would say if you have the discipline to do yoga and Tai Chi, great. But again, relative to how I've written this book, what I have started doing is to find something that gave you joy as a child. Maybe you played badminton, maybe you played chess. For me, it is dance or gardening. So find a physical practice that allows you away from your smartphone and go back to it. For me, it is dance. So that has been my way of helping with stress. My daughter is a dancer, so it connects me with her and makes me happy when I do it. I find I'm not a dancer. I find it incredibly hard to remember the steps. It also allows you to use all parts of your body, and it connects. If there was one panacea, my friend is a neuroscientist in UCSF, University of California in San Francisco. He studies stroke patients. And he said, if there is one panacea that I can give you for neuroplasticity, it would be music, because rhythm helps, music helps, and dancing incorporates music and rhythm. So if there's one panacea that I have chosen for myself, it is. But sports are great, like Sujata said. Team sports are great. There was a New Yorker article which said, a great way to raise your teenage girls is to somehow get them into team sports, because it was about 12 years ago, and I don't remember the reasons, but team sports, especially for girl children, is a great way. So that would be, so I'd say for me, I'm going back to the physical. But
Once again, I really like this answer because I think dancers are so cool because they're just, they're so uninhibited and like not all creative expression comes with that kind of freedom because I think writing just sometimes gets you more and more entangled in your thoughts and questions of being good, etc. But you can like dance like no one's watching is the thing for a reason. I think you can sing in your room and dance in your room and get so much
Yeah.
joy out of it. And like I might
Yeah.
have cringed at what I'm saying in a previous decade, but now I'm like, I really need this. It makes sense to do, like sing alone in my room. I'd love to hear your answer to
Yeah.
the
So
spirituality.
mind-body practices always work, right? So I practice yoga 3 times a week and I sing. So for me, singing is my panacea. And it really connects me with my authentic self. It gives me peace. And it also tones your vagal nerve. So, and vagal nerve toning is what mind-body practices are about. So it's another way while you're seated without thinking about it that you end up toning your vagal nerve and therefore strengthening that mind-body connection. But that's the science of it. I just love it. I've loved it since I was a child, so I continue to sing, and that's what I
Is
do.
there a form of singing that you do?
Yeah, so I studied Hindustani classical music, but I sing everything, much to my children's chagrin. I sing their songs, I sing the pop songs that they're listening to, I sing everything, yeah.
Okay, I have one last question and then we'll open it up to the audience. So at any, like, no matter what age you are, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, if you're feeling stuck in life, what's something you can do to find, like, I think transitional periods in life are so hard to navigate because what you were is kind of dying, but you don't know where you're going yet and how far away that time period is. So what is something that across both of your experience you'd say, like, this is one thing you can do to feel less stuck?
You know, I loved what Shoba had just said earlier about what is it that you love to do as a child. If you can ask yourself that question. And the second question you can ask yourself is, what would I try if I thought I couldn't fail? Right? What is it that I really wanted to do? What is it that I've been wanting to do but just been afraid of failing at?
Okay, lots to think about.
And mine would be, again, like I said, I think it goes really well together. Mine would be take a walk to the bazaar and talk to strangers because I believe in serendipity. And one way, being stuck in life is something we've all felt. And there's two approaches. One is to force your way to the solution, and the other is to allow the solution to kind of dance towards you.
Beautiful.
And my way would be that.
Amazing. That is a natural note to move to questions. Please put your hand up if you have questions and stand and shout, please. We have someone there. Yes, you put the hand up, yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Thanks a lot for the insights. My name is Atul. I'm a father. My daughter is 11 years. And while I agree with most of the points that you said regarding the parenting, giving
Could
kids
you
the...
put your mic closer to your mouth, please?
Yeah.
Thank
Is
you.
it better now?
Yes,
Thank
perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So I agree with what you explained in the parenting side of it, giving kids the creative space, let them do what they want. But at the same time, there is a lack of discipline overall in the kids in terms of where do they draw the line, like till what time they can continue doing the creative work. Because eventually what happens, what we have seen is, right, I mean, being creative is also kind of comes out of privilege, right? I mean, unless you have
I
that,
agree, yes,
right?
100%.
Yeah,
Yes.
so unless we have that sorted out that, okay, if you are in this line and there is some future around that, maybe you can pursue this journey, but then, I mean, I do tell my daughter, right, and that even she wants to be a dancer or an actor, there are tons of people who just can't make it, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who are just in the aspirations.
So I'm going to answer that question in two parts. The first is that some boundaries are absolutely essential. If your children are interested in the creative space or the sports, they have to still keep their studies going, right? The second piece I wanted to tell you was that the creative helps the academic. The sports helps the academic. If you talk to people in management, and when they are interviewing prospective candidates, they love sports people. And if you talk to, you talk to people who are moving on with their lives. So what has supported their journey? They'll talk about their creative efforts. So it's incredibly important for us to understand the value of raising a child that is whole and has a rounded personality, because we don't know what is going to support them where, right? My husband talks about how his tennis playing, which he played only till the age of 14, but how the tennis playing helped him build connections that was supportive in his business, that he started on his own. And he got the gumption to start it on his own because he played the tennis. So we don't understand the value of those extracurricular activities, and it's hard to when school is so challenging and demanding. I completely second your concern, but we have to allow our children to find the space to do it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, because what happens is that my daughter wants to have that one more dance, but at the same time, there's an assignment which is pending. I'm in a split, right? I just don't know what to do with that point of time.
No, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. But I think if you were to allow your child to not do as well academically as you know that she could, and give her the space to do the dance or whatever it is that she explores, she's going to be better off in the future. It is a risk. It is a risk. But I think it's a risk worth taking.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I really like that question, and I just want to shortly second it, because I think the world has changed a lot from the 90s, where you had to get the engineering degree and do the MBA, and that's the only route to making a living. But there are so many ways to make a living now that you can pursue your passion, and it could be profitable also. So I don't think we should.
Yeah, particularly in
yeah.
the context of the creative fields, right? Because that is something that's just expanding. When you look at design, for example, and I've been looking at it because my son, like I said, is a creative person, there's so much scope in design today. There's so much he can do. And I haven't encouraged him to become an artist, right? So I haven't encouraged him to become to focus on oil paintings. But I have told him, think about a practical way in which you can engage your creative mind. And he's creative with words, he's just creative, because that's the way his brain is. So I think it's interesting that the dance piece can fit in somewhere else. You never know.
And I think maybe, like you said, yeah. Sorry, more questions. Yes, on the second row.
Hello, ma'am. Myself Disha, and I'm 16. And you mentioned about being kind and compassionate to ourselves. And there are times where we absolutely feel like doing nothing, and it's very important for us to cheer us up. So at that point of time, whatever we do, how do we differentiate that the things we are doing that time is to improve our mental health, or it is actually deteriorating it?
Wow.
Well, I think you know just by virtue of doing it, right? So if you can stay away from your phone and do something that engages with the world outside, you're already going to be better off. Whether it's spending time with a friend, or doing something creative, or cooking something for yourself, because the beauty of the way our bodies are made is that when we use our hands or we exercise, our brain releases happy hormones. So when we create or when we move, our brain releases happy hormones. So literally, if you start moving, you will start feeling better.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, the fourth row on this side.
Good afternoon. My name is Rashmi, and my question is a little layered. I have 5 lovely ladies sitting before me, and if you ask me, I probably would like to grow old like them. They're absolutely lovely if you see them from here. She's one of them. Yeah, you can raise your
Yes,
hand.
I know, Shelly, Auntie, and
Yeah.
I fully agree with you.
Yes.
I
So,
concur 100%.
Maybe both of you, do you have a hack, 2 hacks that we can grow old like them?
Why don't you ask them?
We should ask them.
Your choice.
But Shelly Auntie was a yoga practitioner for many years. She's a meditation practitioner. She's a meditation teacher. She has a positive outlook to life. She exercises every day. She spends time with her friends and has family visiting her often.
But
She grows fruits in her garden.
Wow.
She's a gardener.
I asked for one, you gave me many. Thank you.
On that
I'm going
note,
to
I think
outlive them for sure.
we have gotten maximum ROI out of this session because time's up. And thank you so much for all the insights. It was
Do
lovely
we have
chatting
room
with
for
you.
one question from my side,
You all are
please?
so lovely. I've been
I'm
Just one-
being told not to
I know,
accommodate
I
anyone. It's
love
not
the
me, it's
color of
him.
the hair. I love the...
Chalega, chalega.
Thank you.
Meet with them over there.